Powerful aftershocks rocked Nepal on April 26, panicking survivors of a quake that killed more than 2,200 and triggering fresh avalanches at Everest base camp, as rescuers dug through rubble in the devastated capital Kathmandu. Terrified residents, many forced to camp out in the capital after Saturday's quake reduced buildings to rubble, were jolted by a 6.7 magnitude aftershock that compounded the worst disaster to hit the impoverished Himalayan nation in more than 80 years. At overstretched hospitals, where medics were also treating patients in hastily erected tents, staff were forced to flee from buildings for fear of further collapses. Electricity has been cut off, communication systems are congested and hospitals are crowded and are running out of room for storing dead bodies, Oxfam Australia Chief Executive Helen Szoke told AFP. Climbers reported that the aftershock caused more avalanches at Mount Everest, just after helicopters airlifted to safety those injured when a wall of snow hit base camp on Saturday, killing at least 17 people. The deadliest disaster in Everest's history comes almost exactly a year after an avalanche killed 16 Sherpa guides, forcing the season to be cancelled, and as around 800 mountaineers were gathered at the start of the new season. AFP's Nepal Bureau Chief Amyo Kanampally, who was on assignment at base camp, reported that 6 helicopters had managed to reach the mountain on Sunday after the weather improved overnight. A stunning image captured by the agency's South Asia photo chief Roberto Schmidt showed a massive cloud of snow and debris cascading onto base camp, burying scores of climbers and flattening tents. People being stretchered out as choppers land half a dozen this morning, Kanampally said in a text message. Weather clear, some snowfall. International help pours in. Offers of help poured in from around the world, with the United States and European Union announcing they were sending in disaster response teams. India flew out its stranded citizens in military planes while a 62-strong Chinese rescue team arrived with sniffer dogs. National Police spokesman Kamal Singh Bam said the number known to have died in Nepal had risen to 2,152 while 4,629 people had been injured. Officials in India said the toll there now stood at 57, while Chinese state media said 17 people had been killed in the Tibet region. We have deployed all our resources for search and rescues, Bam told AFP. Helicopters have been sent to remote areas. We are sifting through the rubble where buildings have collapsed to see if we can find anyone. The Red Cross said it was concerned about the fate of villages near the epicenter of the quake northwest of Kathmandu. The country's cell phone network was working only sporadically, while large parts of the capital were without electricity. Sleepless night. AFP correspondents in Kathmandu reported that tremors were felt throughout the night, including one strong aftershock at dawn before the 6.7 magnitude follow-up quake that struck in the afternoon. It has been a sleepless night, how can we sleep? It has been shaking all night. We are just praying that this will end and we can return home, said Nina Shrestha, a 34-year-old banker who spent the night with hundreds of people on open ground in the capital's Tudhikal district. The historic 9-storied Hara Tower, a major tourist attraction, was among the buildings brought down in Kathmandu Saturday, with at least a dozen bodies recovered from the ruins of the 19th-century structure. As rescuers sifted through the huge mounds of rubble in the capital, hospitals were overwhelmed with victims who suffered multiple fractures and trauma. We have treated many people since yesterday, the majority children, said Samir Acharya, a doctor at Nepal's Annapurna Neurological Hospital. Most patients have head injuries or fractures. 2 of our patients died, 2 are critical. Acharya said medics were working out of a tent set up in a parking lot to cope with the number of injured, while some patients were too scared to stay in the building. Families had grabbed whatever possessions they could muster and sought shelter on the streets, many of which had been split asunder. Weather forecasters warned that rain was on the way, with dark clouds looming over Kathmandu and promising more misery for displaced survivors. Google executive killed in Everest avalanche. Google executive Dan Fredenberg was one of the climbers to have been confirmed as having been killed in the Everest avalanche. Experienced mountaineers said panic erupted at base camp, which has been severely damaged, while one described the avalanche as huge. 17 have been reported dead so far and 61 are injured, said Tulsi Gautam of Nepal's tourism department, which issues permits to climb the world's highest mountain. Those who are able are walking down. Others are being airlifted. Kanampally said many of those stranded at the scene were walking down the mountain rather than risk being stuck for days. George Fowl Sham, a Singapore-based marine biologist, described the moment that the disaster struck. I was outside, saw a white 50-story building of white come at me. I ran and it just flattened me, he told AFP. I tried to get up and it flattened me again. I couldn't breathe, I thought I was dead. When I finally stood up, I couldn't believe it passed me over and I was almost untouched. I saved for years to climb Everest. It feels like the mountain is saying it's not meant to be climbed for now. Too much of a coincidence to see this twice in 2 years. Nepal and the rest of the Himalayas are particularly prone to earthquakes because of the collision of the Indian and Eurasia plates. An 6.8 magnitude quake hit eastern Nepal in August 1988, killing 721 people, and a magnitude 8.1 quake killed 10,700 people in Nepal and India in 1934.